Battle of the Bulge. Fight erupts over Florida's pregnant parking placards.
Pregnant parking placards.
Yes. Battle of the Bulge.
Pregnant parking
Being rage baited by my own producer. A new Florida law allowing pregnant women to use handicapped parking spaces is facing a federal lawsuit from disability rights advocates who argue it violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. The law, which passed the legislature unanimously and was signed by Governor Ron DeSantis in June, created what is called an expectant mother parking permit. For a $15 fee and a doctor's note, women at any stage of pregnancy can obtain a one-year placard allowing them to park in designated handicapped spaces. St. Johns County began issuing the permits in July, but a lawsuit filed October 27th in federal court in the Northern District of Florida claims the policy unlawfully reduces accessibility for people with disabilities. The student was brought on behalf of Olivia Keller, a Leon County resident who uses a wheelchair and says finding van accessible parking has become even harder since the law took effect. Keller's attorney, Matthew Dietz, argued that the measure infringes on the rights of disabled individuals and contradicts federal accessibility standards designed to ensure equal access. He said Keller now struggles to reach her workplace, medical appointments, and other essential destinations. The lawsuit contends that while pregnancy can pose physical challenges, it is not a disability under the ADA, and expanding handicap parking access dilutes vital protections for people with chronic mobility limitations. The bill's sponsor, Representative Fiona McFarland of Sarasota, defended the law, saying it was intended as a compassionate measure to support expectant mothers, not to limit access for others. McFarland has said she was inspired to draft the legislation while 9 months pregnant herself, recalling the difficulties of walking long distances through large parking lots. Still, advocates for the disability community say the intent doesn't erase the impact, warning that the law could set a precedent for eroding federally protected accessibility standards across the state. Having been pregnant a number of times, and I'm someone that had morning sickness, I mean, it's a problem. It's like, it's hard. It's hard walking long distances. You are covered by portions of the ADA because I had a boss try and fire me over the fact that I had morning sickness issues. And because of the protections for pregnant women, he was not able to fire me while I was experiencing morning sickness. So that saved my job, which was very important. We were very paycheck to paycheck at that point. So pregnancy is considered a disability in some legal facets. I know that.
I'm not in favor of this one. I'm sorry. I've never been pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But the way the law is written, it gives them a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, at 8-9 months.
There's a reason for that. Because morning sickness can occur from the point of conception in some people. And it can be to the point, I've known women who weighed less when they were 9 months pregnant than they did when they got pregnant because their morning sickness was so severe. So that's why it's a year, because morning sickness.
But the problem is that
you have
the smaller percentage.
You have a recovery post-birth, and that's for C-sections and vaginal births. One of my babies cracked my actual hip bones. Mm-hmm. And so trying to walk through the cobblestone parking lot, trying to walk up the little hills going from Firehouse Subs to the Michaels area, that was incredibly painful. And I had to walk around as a result. So there's reason it's a year.
Having to push around for a year,
mm-hmm.
someone in a wheelchair,
mm-hmm.
and working with someone in a wheelchair, it
mm-hmm.
is very frustrating when someone you're looking at and it's usually someone's son who's using mom's placard
mm-hmm.
or something like that. This one to me is another reason to use that excuse, and I'm not in favor of it. And
I think that's more of the problem than pregnant women. Because when I was pregnant, if I was feeling good, I wouldn't have used this. I wouldn't have abused this.
But there are people that would.
There are people that would, and there's people.
It opens up more abuse to it.
I agree, But
your doctor can sign for you to get a placard. Your doctor can do that under the current law without this law.
Well, they're saying that they can't because it's ADA.
Your doctor can sign for you because that's how Ty ended up with a placard. He was in a wheelchair. He had a broken hip. And it was, I mean, some of these things were very, very challenging at the time. And I could just see a woman parking there who's 1 month pregnant, who's like, oh, I'm going to get a placard. And doesn't need it for any reason whatsoever. I see it as more of an abusive situation. I've never been pregnant, so I can sympathize with your situation that you went through, but I don't agree with this law. I think it's opening it up too much, and it's I think the percentages is much lower than.
Well, I think we need to clarify
handicap situation, because if the doctor says, okay, yes, you can get the placard, then I'm okay with it. Just saying I'm pregnant, that gets you a placard, I don't think that's right.
Well, it still requires a doctor's note. So under this law, it still requires a doctor's note. So a doctor can be like, oh, you're doing fine, you don't need it. A doctor can turn you down. Will they? Who knows? Pregnant women are scary.
They won't.
Pregnant women are scary. I get that.
They won't, because they're afraid of the lawsuit now, because the law says, well, I'm pregnant, I'm allowed to have it. So, so they're not going to do that. But I think it's a law. It just, when we add more laws, I'm always skeptical about it.
And I agree. I agree with that too.
Yeah, but in that case, would it be like better to possibly make like a state law that has to like designate like instead of pregnant women using like handicapped spaces, would it be better to make like new like designate spaces on like property, like let's say like instead of like the blue handicap signs, there's like purple like expecting mother signs that they had to get like a specific like purple permit for. Like, would that be like a better solution? And
the problem with that is that now, if you own a business, and for the business owners, creating handicap space is hard enough to meet the criteria. That's why you see a lot of these parking lots that are completely empty. But that's what the numbers said you had to have. Yeah. Even though your business better than the people that are requiring these parking places, so. If you do that, then you're going to be required to do this, and then it all gets trickled down into the cost of those things too.
So I'm just saying, I understand why this law was put into effect. We should probably clarify when pregnancy is considered a disability and when it's not, because I do know that it falls under disability protections under some laws. So I would just say we need to clarify that. I totally get why this law is in place, and any place there was a parking space for an expectant mother, regardless of how pregnant I was, if I was having serious inflammation issues and swelling, or post-birth when I had the broken pelvis, it was not a hip, it was pelvis, it was broken, that would have been a huge blessing. And there are hospitals, doctors' offices, and Babies R Us, Toys R Us. They used to have those places were the places that I could find expectant mother parking. It totally makes sense if it's a business that is directed towards pregnancy and babies to have expectant parking. I don't know if we need to have expectant parking out front of every business. But I was going to say maybe not Home Depot, but to be fair, I was nesting like crazy when I was pregnant, so it's actually at Home Depot a great deal. So I don't know. I don't know if it needs to be everywhere. Maybe the bar needs to be higher, and it's, if you're experiencing severe morning sickness or physical ailments. I think
you got to put it back on the doctor and not put it on because the doctor can write that this person needs that handicap placard. I don't think you open it up to everyone. I think you make it broader. It's going to make it more difficult for those that really are in need, because now there's more placards out there to be abused.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with it.
I would argue that the permits were, the beginning of the permits being issued was July. I seriously doubt that so many people jumped on these permits because I didn't even know this was a thing until the legal fight started.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt that so many permits have been issued
But
that
you
it's
don't
suddenly so hard to find a parking spot.
This young lady who's in the wheelchair can recognize it because they're going to see it more. It's like
I'm just saying.
It's like if you buy a Prius for the first time, you don't see that many Priuses until you buy a Prius.
I get
So
that.
it's an association thing until it's actually in front of you. You know, like you said, you went through it. You're like, I really would have liked to have this.
Yeah.
I didn't go through it. So
it was a big deal to me
yeah.
when there was that option, because like I said, I did struggle in early pregnancy with morning sickness, and I carried very high. So in later pregnancy, it was very hard for me to take a deep breath. And so walking a long distance was very challenging later in pregnancy, just because breathing was hard later in pregnancy. So it was a huge blessing to me when I was pregnant, and I wasn't even the worst case of pregnancy symptoms.
Like I said, put it back on the
know.
doctor. Don't put it in the rules. Is my thoughts, and I'm not trying to be unsympathetic.
Misogynist.
But I think the more it gets out there, and it's a law that we've survived with.
Yeah.
With.
I would just love to.
For decades and decades and almost a century of driving.
Yeah. I would love
Now
to
we
see the
need it.
stats, though, on how many permits have been issued. Like, I would love to see, and I don't even know how you could do it, but I would love to see the stats of how many spaces are being taken up by pregnant women, because I highly
Well,
suspect.
the problem is it's going to get more and more.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
it's gonna be-
it's
people
going
are
to be
gonna
more
find
right
out.
now.
It's
If
gonna
this
be more and
lawsuit
more.
doesn't work, it's going to be more right now, because it made more news that this law was in effect because they got sued about it. I suspect this woman is offended about this law from the very beginning, because it
Oh, I'm
takes
sure.
time. It takes time to get a lawyer. So I doubt that there are stats to back up her argument at this point, and she just wants it to end before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why this lawsuit, because the lawsuit happened so fast
Yeah.
after the law went into effect. And like I said, I know pregnant women right now that
Sure,
do not know that this law exists.
I imagine she was probably fighting it before it even.
I
was
imagine.
passed.
So I feel like this
but
is.
But like I said,
I don't know that an injury has occurred at
We've
this point.
survived without it,
Okay.
and now we've created another law for more people to abuse, and it's already being abused. Or we all have friends that are in wheelchairs and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're 2 months pregnant compared to a person who's a quadriplegic. Guess who I'm leaning towards?
2 months pregnant, maybe not had a meal in 6 weeks.
Then you get a doctor's note that says that. So you're touching such a small minority, because of your current your one situation.
I'm just saying,
But
I'm not unique.
You got to look at it from 30,000 feet when you're making a
get
law.
that.
You don't look at it as one.
I get that. I'm
But
playing
you
devil's
don't, though.
advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate for the law at this point.
Yeah.
Because,
So,
like,
the law is bullshit. Sorry.
because
Sorry,
there's a whole.
I tried to be nice about it, Amanda, but the law is
there's
bullshit.
there's a whole movement about people, like, you can't see all disabilities. And so there are
That's
people.
why the doctor has permission to write that.
I know, but there's like people that shame people that leave their vehicles about parking in a handicapped parking space and say, "Oh, you're not disabled. You're walking into the store. I can see that you're not disabled. So
Yeah,
you're
you can't-
illegally
you can't
parking."
make that statement.
And then
you don't know they have
so you
emphysema.
can't see every disability. You can't see every struggle for pregnancy. That's all I'm saying, and I'm playing devil's advocate for the law. I don't like a ton of extra laws. There's probably a better way to get this done.
It's already in place.
You have suggested that it's already in place. Perhaps more people need to be made aware that that is an option. And I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I feel like this lawsuit is because someone was pissed about this law to begin with, rather than someone actually experiencing a disruption of
They don't need more disruptions. I mean,
I'm just
anybody
saying.
who's ever experienced it, and I only experienced it for a year. Anyone who's ever experienced it, it is such an already abused situation. And I know we have people who were in the comments that have had similar situations.
Yeah.
This is another way to abuse that and make it harder for those that truly need. I'm sorry, and I'm not saying that there is a handful, probably more than a handful, but their doctors can write them this prescription to get them a temporary tag. Because and it was only 6 months, and for it to be a year, everybody qualifies that's pregnant for a year. This isn't cool. This is a bad law. I'm sorry.
All right.
So,
Well, there you
I
have
tried
it.
to be as politically correct about it as I could, and
You don't offend me.
yeah,
It's just having been in this situation,
Yeah.
like I get why it is the way it is. That's all I'm saying. I get why it is the way it is. I don't agree with more laws in general. I don't know that this is necessarily needed. I get why it's there. That's all I'm saying. All right.